you can almost have this attitude of being apologetic, like, hey, I wish I could give you more time, but look at all your siblings. And then they're viewing their siblings as this, points against. Whereas like that is the greatest blessing that you did for them in the world, is give them all these siblings.
All right, welcome back to As For Me in My House. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Lena.
And we're so excited to have back on for the second time our good friends Elisha and Katie from Now That We're a Family. How are you guys?
Hey, doing great. And thank you guys for having us back on it. It really, I tell you what, I would love to make this a tradition, because we just had the privilege of interviewing you guys and getting caught up on your life. And we get so much inspiration from hearing from you guys. And so thank you so much for letting us do this again. It's a blast for us.
Yeah, no, it's our pleasure. And we had a great time back on your podcast. And we're just so thankful to hopefully do it more than once a year. We'd love to keep in touch more than that and have you on. But since we last talked, a lot's happened in both of our lives, but certainly with you guys. Catch us up a little bit in our audience on what's the Lord been doing? What does this new season of life look like? And what are some of like the key things you've taken and learned along the road since we last talked?
That's a big question, but it's been a wild year for us. So right after we finished talking to you guys last year, we had bought a property and we decided to break ground on that property. And so we sold our home and we moved into a 16 by 20 foot wall tent off grid. And we lived in that until December. So 6 months. And so that was like a whole new style of life. Like, one, trying to record the podcast out there, kind of bring a little modern technology in with our generator. But we were getting all our water from the creek, doing our laundry in the creek. Like, it was just very unique.
Wow.
So we had a lot of fun.
And it wasn't just the two of you on this journey.
Yeah. Our 5 kids were there, and we decided to buy a puppy the month before we moved out. So we brought him along. Wow. And I was pregnant with our 6th. And breastfeeding, so we ended up weaning out there and potty training out there through the night, and had our baby a couple weeks after we moved out of the tent. We were going back and forth on whether to birth the baby out there. We had a wood stove out there and everything. So it stayed cozy in the snow up here in North Idaho, but we opted for moving into a home, and God gave us very clear direction on that. So we ended up having the baby, and we've just kind of been bumping around. We're recording this in our laundry room now. Carpets going in our build. And so it's all coming together, but it's been a wild ride.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm just like, I love the spirit of adventure and willing to do something completely. Like, we don't really care what the world thinks. We're just going to listen to the Lord and do something that's, you're making the most of the opportunity when you have it, and I think that's just such a cool, like, season of your life that you get to look back on and say, like, hey kids, remember this? Or
would you do it again? Is it
that's
still
a question?
Is that is it too fresh to ask?
No, I think that's a great question, because, just kind of piggybacking on what Jordan was saying, we hoped that it would be that season. We're like, okay, we've never been the family that's wanted to spend our life off grid or, grow our own food, and buy a, 100% self-sustained farm or anything like that. But we thought this is a small window between when we sold our house and then while we're building, where it kind of seems like it could be a fun little season. And we actually only committed to doing it through the summer. We've got beautiful summers up here in North Idaho. We have the water right there. And so we thought we were pretty confident we could do it for 3 months and then really enjoy it. And by the end of that 3 months, we actually were enjoying it more and more, because we were getting more accustomed to the systems and the rhythms. And so we just kept taking it 1 month at a time. And then I'd say like the last 3 weeks, we were pretty motivated to make it to the 6 week period. Like, I don't think we loved the 6 month period.
We got the flu in December in the tent. Yeah. And like running out to our outhouse that we built in the snow was like not fun for anybody.
Yeah.
So that's where it kind of lost its charm. I would say the end of December.
So to answer your question, we're really glad we did it, but we wouldn't do it again going forward. We would do it again if we had, retrospectively, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes. Okay. How did you do laundry in a creek? And did you do, like, you literally did your laundry, dishes, like everything was in the creek?
Yeah, we did dishes through December. So we'd have to go out and like break the ice out there and stuff. We started going to a laundromat in November. And then through the summer, we just had like a clothesline and yeah, did it in the creek. We'd boil water over our stove and we cooked on a Blackstone. So we could pretty much do everything on the Blackstone in the summer. And then we moved to cooking inside over the wood stove in the winter. So we just make all our meals. And I was actually really amazed by like when your cast iron was like in the front of the wood stove, it was cooler. You can move it to the back and it was hotter. And it was actually like really easy to cook on it. So that was nice. But
yeah,
What if
I can't say our clothes were the cleanest.
clean enough, right? That's all.
Yeah. So I can cover that spot up.
What, if anything, did you quote unquote miss the most about maybe some of the more modern amenities and luxuries that a lot of people in the U.S. especially live in, that you guys were like, wow, it would be really nice to have this or to do that right now?
Or the other way, what are you like? I guess we don't even need that anymore. Like,
Maybe you
do
were
you feel like you don't
surprised.
need a dishwasher? I think you guys had her on. Lisa. She at the time she didn't have a dishwasher and she had like 8 kids and she like didn't feel the need to even have one. So like, have you noticed that? Both sides?
Those are good questions.
Yeah.
What would you say is the thing you missed the most? I know what it was for me.
Okay, great. Well, I don't think I'm going to point to a particular thing. I think I did miss modern technology for the sake of being able to be flexible and have spontaneity. So living off grid in the tent was the highlight of our life when it was all going according to plan. When one thing would be off, it would quickly turn into chaos. Or if people were passing through town and you were kind of put on the spot to host, or you wanted to host with spontaneity, we didn't have the capability to pivot quickly in those types of situations. And so that was my overall takeaway from being away from technology and just modern, I guess, conveniences, is that those can be an incredible tool for making a last minute decision and having it not destroy, your family or your week or whatever it may be.
Well, things like groceries. It's like we couldn't keep enough groceries on hand because we're using an ice chest. So it's like we'd have to go into town if someone's coming over and get groceries. So if someone just like pops over, it's like, I don't know, let's dig through this ice and see what we've got,
Yeah, we're both surprised. Right?
I miss the showers. I really miss showering and like washing my hair. So I'd go to a campground shower like once every 2 weeks over the summer and wash my hair. But then we'd bathe in the creek aside from that. And it started to get really cold. So I stopped in October and then we got a gym membership so I could use those showers. But Elisha and the boys kept going into November. And anyways, it was really hardcore, but it was like
you
freezing.
had a cold plunge and you didn't have to pay $3,000 for it.
Yeah,
It was natural.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna ask, like, do you feel like you were the healthiest you've been because you're having to, like, literally, make your own food all the time? It's not like you just said, your stuff was like, and it's not convenient to go out and like, oh, we'll just order a pizza. Like, I'm assuming that wasn't any convenience.
Or like microwave dinner.
Yeah. So no microwave. Yeah. Probably way less plastic because you can't put plastic on a stove. You're probably not using lights past like nighttime, so you're not getting your you're having to use candles and there's no fluorescent lights, and like it's like y'all are like the Israelites.
Well, you did
notice your sleep. Like, did you notice a lot of differences in these areas?
Our circadian rhythm was fantastic. So we didn't have any lights the whole time we were there. Well, I say that we brought out our ring light. And we started using that in November, December for podcasting. But aside from that, like in the tent, we didn't have any lamps or anything. And so we just used candlelight from 4 o'clock or 3:30 when it started getting dark up here in the winter. And then we'd go to bed at 7 or 7:30. Like I was in bed before 8 every night asleep. And there was something to that. Like that's something we want to have here at home, is just like dim the lights really early, light candles, because it's so easy to transition to bedtime. The children were so calm in the evening. So that was huge. And then even with the dishwasher, we put in a dishwasher here, but everywhere we've been staying since the tent, since we moved out, I've just been hand washing the dishes because I actually really enjoy it. So
Yeah. So overall, I do think it was a really healthy season in a different way than what we've ever experienced. That sleep being a huge one. And we're going to try our best to replicate something along those lines, like Katie said, of getting rid of as much artificial lighting as we can earlier, because it just was healthy for the whole flow of the home. I don't know if you guys ever have the experience of like going from being the kids being awake and then like it's bedtime and it's chaos for a while to calm them down. That was definitely our experience. And then when we went away from artificial lights, it's like they naturally were just like ready for bed at their bedtime. And it was really peaceful and enjoyable. And then I do think just having the physical labor that was involved with things like the laundry or the dishes or just preparing the food.
hauled a lot of wood and water.
Yeah. And then it just was a long walk to go anywhere on the property. I know that sounds like petty, but it was just a very active lifestyle and physically demanding lifestyle, which we loved.
We both just lost a lot of weight. I mean, I was pregnant, but I didn't gain a lot of weight. Elisha, I feel like, lost weight out there. So
yeah, no, it's something to be said about what, for lack of better words, we call simpler is actually
better.
It's maybe more simple in complexity, but it still has with it a, like, you have to have a certain level of physical capability, mental faculty.
It's very fruitful work.
Yes.
Like we have, our house is heated, but we do have a real fireplace, and my son loves to get the wood for the fire. Like that is like his favorite thing to do.
He fills up his little tractor and he puts it in the back, and then he drives it around from where it's sitting up to the garage. And I'm curious, and speaking of, like, what were your kids' experience, and like what was some of their feedback, and what did you guys notice in them throughout that season of tent living, and how did they change and adjust from the beginning to the end?
It's funny. It'll be interesting to hear what they say when they're older looking back on it, but currently they loved it and really miss it. That was home for them.
Really?
And
wait, can you remind us the ages of your kids real quick?
Yeah. So our oldest just turned 8. So it was 7, 6, 5, 3, 2,
and 1.
3 and 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we were in the tent. So they loved it. I mean, we did give them a lot of freedom. Like, they lit so many fires with Elisha. So then our 7-year-old started taking over lighting the fires, because I'm really bad at it. So like whenever Elisha was gone, he'd light our indoor fires and our outdoor ones, and they were just constantly burning. So the kids got really good around fire. Like, our 1-year-old was very aware of like what was hot. We never had him like get close to the fire or touch the wood stove or anything like that. So I felt like they all just became really capable and like aware of each other around the water. Because it was kind of hazardous, I would say, and so they just got really hardcore, like really good at being outside for long periods of time in the cold. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, those two elements, the water and the fire, were the things that we were the most safety conscientious about. Yeah. Because it was a creek, but it was definitely, there were sections of the creek where it was like 3 feet deep, and very, very much a drownable, water creek. And then obviously with the fire, and all the candles, much of the tent was flammable, and you're like, okay, this is a huge hazard, or just the kids burning themselves. And so those were the two things that we just really coached and worked with the kids on safety and had pretty strict boundaries with. And then, and they were able to grow in capability, so that we gave them a longer and longer leash. And then with other things, just like exploring in the woods, climbing trees, making bows and arrows, and just building forts. We gave them so much liberty where going from living in town to then going out there, it felt like the kids would like finish breakfast, and then it's like they'd go out and we wouldn't see them for like 2 or 3 hours. I say that we would know if they were like, hurt or anything like that. But the point is that they were very engaged out in the woods.
And they looked out for each other, and they still look out for each other a lot, which is really sweet.
That is so precious.
And that I'm sure that experience they wouldn't have been able to get, or at least at that level, had you not been there, right? So you not only gave them the opportunity, but then they took full advantage of it, and built probably some really special core memories and deep bonds with one another too. And
no doubt.
We were talking a little bit about the lighting and circadian rhythm and all that, and I remember coming across a study about like staring at fire, like an actual fire, and how like the benefits to your, even just like your eyes looking at a fire before bed to really help calm you.
And it releases certain hormones.
Yeah, like sleepy serotonin level, like hormones, like relaxing and getting you ready for sleep. Was that something? Obviously, you said you had such a great, rhythm and all that to your sleep. Is that something you're like, yeah, we had routines or some special things that we did as a family during that time that was really like you're hoping to bring into even your
having
next
a
place?
modern home? Yeah, like do you have a wood burning fireplace? Do you have a fire, like a stove that's similar? Like, are those things you're going to continue?
It's funny. We were getting tight on the budget there at the end of the build, and we hadn't put in any kind of fireplace or wood stove or anything. And in the tent, we loved it so much. It was so like euphoric. Like I was like, this is so incredible sitting in front of like that warm fire. And I begged Elisha, I was like, we have to adjust the plans. We have to put this in. And so we did.
Oh, great.
Because that was something that I just love so much and the kids love so much.
Yeah.
You did too.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was, something we changed.
And yeah, you talked about your boy loving getting the firewood, and then you talked about just kind of like those evening rituals and routines. And I do think just the nature of our living situation provided us with new rituals and routines out of necessity, getting the wood stocked up for the night, starting the fire, prepping. Everything was just like you just had to do it. Like you had to do it every night or you'd pay for it. And those are the types of things that, as you already mentioned, built so many fun times with me and my boys and with our daughter, Lucy, that I think you have to be a lot more proactive in creating with modern technology. You can get away with not really just like going to bed without thinking about, like maybe you lock up the doors and you kind of have your little security check routine. But you can really kind of thoughtlessly go about multiple days in a row without paying for it with modern technologies. Whereas I do think, when we weren't allowed to do that, it actually lent to there being this routine and this ritual where we were able to be in touch with our kids. We were able to bring them along with chores and they had responsibilities as well. And so to answer your question, we don't know entirely how we're going to do that, but it is something that we want to introduce into, our more modern home.
One thing is we want to read by candlelight with the kids in their beds. So we used to do like a family time in the living room, and then everyone would get up and we're like, hey, time to go get in bed. And everyone needs to like run around and go potty and brush their teeth. And, it was just this whole rigmarole. So now it's like in the tent, we would do all that earlier. And then they got in their beds, we would read by candlelight. And then a lot of the younger ones, which were usually the ones running around, would fall asleep in bed. And so that's something I would really like to try implementing, is kind of do the last part of our evening wind down routine in their beds. And just kind of have them settle there instead of like, okay, now we're turning on all the lights and everyone go buzz around after we just calm down in the living room. So that's one practical thing.
We're totally down with that and on the same page.
I actually did that yesterday.
Yeah, Melania comes walking with like a bunch of candles and it's like, what's going on? What happened to the lights? And she's like, candles.
I love it.
It really makes a big difference. I didn't turn on any lights yesterday. Yeah. And I just had my red light and candles, and I gave each of the kids their own candles. I have like automatic ones. So they had their own, and I took a shower with a candle in the shower.
Yeah. And I was like, is there a candle in there?
It was lovely. The kids were like, this is not safe. I'm like, this is actually the safest place because there's water right here. But you guys just welcomed your sixth child in 7 years. I'd love to know, how is this different? Does it feel the same?
Did you reach one number of children and you're like, hey, if we could do this, we could do 10 more? Or...
Yeah. Was it at 3 that you're like, if we can do 3, we can do anything? Yeah. Because we desire to have a large family, and to 4 has not felt like a breaking point for us. I'm like, will it be the 5th? Will it be I'd love to know.
Yeah, you guys have been there and done that, and you're continuing. Yes. So we'd love to hear any wisdom and insight, and a lot of our audience too is similarly aspiring to where you guys are at actually in your life.
Oh, that's a great question. I feel like it's gotten way easier in terms of postpartum, Elisha and I being on the same page. Like, our life's been crazy this year, and the baby was not the reason. We've been living in multiple different homes, waiting for this build to finish up, and it's just been like he's just a little dream. So that's really nice. I feel like that part gets so much easier. I feel like the responsibility of having more people in your home, I think the weight of that settles on us a little bit more with each year that the kids get older, just that responsibility and that stewardship that we have to steward the souls we brought into the world. So I would say, like, from a real practical standpoint, it got easier for us. I would say maybe around 5. 4 was the hardest for me. I feel like in terms of logistics, just the most car seats and all that stuff was at 4, because we had 4 at 4 and under. And then after that, the big kids started helping out a lot. They could get themselves dressed, all that stuff. So it got easier that way. But I think, like, mentally and, like, I don't know, we just feel the weight of the family a lot more and be like, okay, we really want to invest in each one of these kids, because the older kids are starting to have more emotional and mental needs versus just like taking care of their little bodies. You know, I'm sure you guys are seeing that with your 4 and 6-year-old. So
For sure.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. It seems like the season of being postpartum, you just rocked that. You're incredible. And I'm really grateful for that. But my heart does get a little bit more, I feel like, not torn, but a little bit more, I'm more conscientious of the fact that I've got older kids now, that they're not going to just require these physical needs like babies do, right? Where you're just taking care of them physically. They're having thoughts. They are emotional. I want to be able to have conversations with them. And so it's more on that upper end of our kids that I'm feeling the number affect us now. And we love it. We don't feel like, we're maxed out. It's just that we're a lot more thoughtful about that.
Well, we came from families that Elisha's one of 10 and I'm one of 11. So our parents did a really good job being intentional with all of us. And I feel like it's kind of a limiting belief we have, like, can we do this? Can we do this well? Like, how do our parents have more children and do that well? So clearly the Lord expands your capacity, and that's a faith walk for us, for sure.
Yes.
Well, I would love to know, because we're definitely starting to get into this territory where I've noticed we are with our kids all day long. Like, I homeschool them. Like, they don't leave my sight unless I'm like recording a podcast. Like, I am with them all day long.
I hear them out there.
And it's like they're making a picnic right now for their stuffed animals. It's really cute. But like, at the end of the day, one of my kids, like, recently has been like, I want to spend more time with you. I'm like, how could I possibly spend more time? Like, how? So like, if that, like, have you had that be a thing, or like, how do you feel like, because they'll even say like, well, I want to spend just time with mommy. And I'm like, how do I word that in a way that it's like, I just want to know how you navigate that, because that has been something I have noticed where they're like, no, I just want mommy. Like, you have to go.
What does one-on-one time look like with 6 kids?
Yes.
That all are very like young and need you.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say it's really the oldest 3 that all say that. So we totally relate to that. We're just like, I'm with you all the time. What are you talking about? But my love language is quality time. So I think I'm sensitive towards that. Like, oh, I get the difference when Elisha's just hanging out with me versus like he's with the family or whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, I think a big thing for us is taking the kids on errands one at a time. So we have that freedom if Elisha's working from home or something like that, or if he has to go to work, sometimes he'll take our oldest and our oldest will do his math with Elisha. So they're both still like getting stuff done, but it's at a coffee shop or it's at an office, and he really loves that. So I say stuff like that. And then sometimes time in bed, just sitting by their bed and visiting just with them. I don't know. Those are little things that we've done, but it is kind of interesting having to work that in there.
Yeah. Ditto to everything Katie just said. If you're able to do those one-on-one dates or get that, special time where they're coming to work with you, I think is phenomenal. But I also think it can be in a lot smaller chunks of time as well, where you're pulling them aside for 5 minutes and really having that, looking them in the eye, getting down on their level, connection time, just praying with just them, or going over what are they doing in school, just going over their school with them.
Or sometimes I'll just let one child help me with dinner. Like, they're all like, oh, I want to help too. I'm like, I'm just going to have one helper tonight. So that's something like, you guys all go play together. I'm just going to pick one helper. So it's not always just like we aren't doing anything else. Most of the time we're doing other things.
Yes.
We just kind of separate out one child.
Yeah. Another practical example is we were taking the trash out last week at the last place that we were staying at. And we had all been taking the trash out together. And then I just took one of my sons out, to take the trash. And it was kind of a really long driveway. And so it was literally like, 5 or 10 minutes. And I felt like he really was able to talk in a way where he felt free, he felt heard, and all those things. And so I think it can be big where you're going on dates with them, but it can also be just these little moments throughout the day as well.
I like that. Yeah, I feel like I need to be, because I tend to do like a whole grouping. It's like, because we have like, it's the oldest three and then we have a baby, so it's like, it's just easier because it's just like, okay, you three just sit here, we'll do this together, we'll do that together. So I feel like I should just start being like, today Mondays is cooking with one of you, and then Tuesdays for the other one, just like kind of letting them know ahead of time. Because I have noticed within like the last like month or so, and I'm like, as I'm pregnant, I'm like, oh no, like, is this gonna become like a bigger thing? Like, I can't, like, we're only like, I can only do so much.
Well, and I will say just one more thing, because I think it is critical to make sure you're connecting with each one of your children. But I also think it's equally as important to acknowledge how awesome it is that they have siblings that they get to do things with. And so I think you can frame it as though like, hey, you can almost have this attitude of being apologetic, like, hey, I wish I could give you more time, but look at all your siblings. And then they're viewing their siblings as this, points against. Whereas like, that is the greatest blessing that you did for them in the world, is give them all these siblings. And so I think we can highlight that, even though we still want to get that one-on-one time. Don't pit it against their siblings as though like, well, if you were if you were an only child, then you'd get a lot of really quality time. Really frame it as though like, man, what a gift it is that we have all these kids that you get to hang out with.
Yes, that's like a really good thing, because I've been really cautious about my words, because I'm like, I don't want it to sound like Jordan and I are being irresponsible by having so many kids that like we can't spend 45 minutes with each one.
Yeah, but
it also is like,
but in reality, we're only two people, right? So there has to be some sort of management of
and if
time.
Like you guys came from 10 and 11 and you felt like your parents were really intentional, then I do think it is very possible.
Like you said, that the Lord increases that capacity for you, miraculously as it seems. So. Well, you guys are such an encouragement to us, and I really get a sense of your fathering and mothering like God the Father cares for us as children. And so I just want to encourage you to keep doing that and keep leading people. We are really excited. We know you guys have, now that we're a family magazine coming out soon. Give us the highlights of that and kind of where people can find out more about that, as well as the Voetberg Music Academy, and just anywhere that people can follow along and keep in touch with you guys.
Yeah, so I'll take the magazine real quick. We're so excited about it. It's our first, we're doing quarterly print magazines mailed to your door. And I think we have to specify that because Elisha and I do create a lot of digital products for families, but we found that we were finding so much encouragement in digital and physical resources. We both really love to read. And so we have some incredible contributors that are encouraging families for mothers, fathers, older men and women, speaking into younger families like our lives. And so we're very excited about it. And we're just sending out our first copy. So you guys can order that on our website, nowthatwe'reafamily.com, and stay up to date there. And then more about Voetberg Music Academy.
Yeah. The other thing you mentioned, Voetberg Music Academy, was actually the very first business Katie and I started together when we were dating, which was kind of risky going into business together before we were married.
With his last name.
Yeah, exactly. With my last name.
You're committed at that point.
Yeah. And that is online music lessons for really geared towards facilitating families. And they're pre-recorded lessons that you get on a weekly basis. But then we also offer live coaching. So you can join the live workshops. There's performance opportunities of live performance. We've got a great community of like-minded Christian families that are learning piano, guitar, fiddle, mandolin, ukulele. And yeah, we love that as well. And that's VoetbergMusicAcademy.com.
The cost is by family too. So often we'll have people with like 5 kids learning piano all at the same time. With one account. So we love being able to offer that.
That is a huge plus.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much. We love your family, and we love getting to connect with you some more, and just pray blessings on this next season of kind of settling down, at least for the foreseeable future, at your new place. And congrats again. And we look forward to keeping in touch and hearing more in the future.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thank you guys. God bless you.
You too. God bless.
Bye.
Bye-bye.